You know, what happens when a king's power starts to fade? When raw strength gets replaced by, well, by cunning? We're about to dive into a truly timeless fable that pits brute force against a sharp mind, and it reveals a surprising truth about what it really takes to survive.
So where does this story even come from? Well, it's got some seriously deep roots. It's from a collection called the Fox Fables, written down by Rabbi Barishia Hanakdan way back in the Middle Ages. So yeah, the wisdom we're about to unpack, it's been passed down for centuries. All right, let's set the scene. Our story kicks off with a king who's on his way down, and he's up against an enemy that you just can't fight. Not with an army, not with a crown. And that enemy? It's time itself. At the heart of our story is this lion. You know, the king of the beasts. But his reign is definitely in its twilight years. That incredible power he once had, the kind that made the entire animal kingdom tremble, yeah, that's long gone. It's just a memory now. And we're talking a complete decline here. His claws were dull, his teeth weren't sharp anymore, his strength was just gone. He couldn't hunt, he couldn't rule by force like he used to. So with all that physical power gone, what's left? The lion had to turn to something else, something a lot darker, his own cunning. Okay, so the lion's strength is gone. What does he do? He comes up with a new plan, and it's a really dark, tricky one that's about to turn his home, his den, into a place of, well, mystery and a whole lot of fear. Naturally, word gets out that the king isn't doing so well, and what happens? His subjects, animals from all over, start showing up at his den. You can imagine, some were there to pay their respects to the great leader they remembered, but others? Maybe they were just a little curious to see the mighty king brought low. And this is where the trap is set. The lion, who's way too weak to go out and hunt, he just waits. He pretends to be frail and invites his visitors in, and then he devours them. It's brutal for sure, but it's also effective. A really deceptive way to hang on. But then, someone different shows up, an animal that doesn't operate on pure strength or, just raw emotion. This one relies on something else entirely, watching carefully and thinking things through. And here comes the fox. He gets close to the den, but he does something that apparently none of the other animals ought to do. He just stops. He pauses. He doesn't go rushing in to say hello or to get a look at the old king. He just waits. See, instead of just looking at the lion, the fox looks at the bigger picture. He studies the area around the den. He's looking at the ground, taking it all in. He's not jumping to any conclusions. He's just gathering evidence before he decides what to do next. And that's when he sees it, the one critical clue that everyone else just walked right past. The whole story is written right there in the dirt for anyone who bothers to look. Tons of footprints leading into the den, but not a single track leading back out. Oof. The lion, of course, tries to sweet-talk him. Oh, come on in, my friend. But the fox, he's got his data, right? He's not falling for it, and he just calmly points out what he's seen. He's not yelling or making a big scene. He just states the simple, undeniable fact. And with that, he turns around and leaves the lion to his tricks, all alone. So, okay, what's the big takeaway from this old story? I mean, it's not really just about a lion and a fox, is it? It's really about two totally different kinds of power going head-to-head. And this is the central idea right here. You've got the lion, who, once his physical strength was gone, had to fall back on trickery. His whole game was about taking advantage of other animals' trust. But then you have the fox. He relied on a power that doesn't fade, wisdom, thinking critically, and, that good old-fashioned common sense to look before you leap. And this isn't just some random, clever story. It's tied directly into a long tradition of wisdom literature. You see echoes of it in Proverbs, which tells us that the prudent give thought to their steps. That's our fox right there. Or in Ecclesiastes, which reminds us that the race isn't always to the swift, and the battle isn't always to the strong. The main lesson is crystal clear. Real, lasting power, it comes from wisdom. But think about what the fox didn't do. This is really important. He didn't try to fight the lion. He didn't try to argue with him or expose his big, evil plan to everyone. Nope. He just saw the danger, trusted what he saw, and walked away. And that's a lesson in itself, right? Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is just disengage. And that, right there, is the real heart of it. The fox's victory wasn't about winning a fight. This was a battle of wits, and honestly, the fox won before it even started. How? Simple. He won just by paying attention.
So, the ultimate lesson from this whole fable is about looking at the world around you with a critical eye, to really see what's there. Which naturally brings us to one final question for you to think about.
So, in your own life, at work, in your relationships, with all the information that's constantly coming at you, what are the signs? What are the little clues that tell you whether something is a good path or a hidden trap? What are the footprints, so to speak, that you should be looking for before you step inside?